Today what we're going to talk about is the Year 7 Geography water formative task. And in this task, you're going to be required to conduct what's known as an inquiry process. This tutorial is going to talk you through what an inquiry process is, the steps to completing an inquiry, and what are some helpful strategies and tips to get you started. An inquiry is an investigation into a real-world situation. And we do these in geography in order to make informed decisions and to solve potential problems. Geography is a great subject because it has real-world application. Geography inquiries encompass 5 key aspects, and there's 5 steps to complete them. The first is we need to ask a question. From those questions, we need to then find sources, or we need to research them in order to hopefully find answers to those questions. We then need to explore and analyze information that is gained from that research. And ultimately, our aim is to act on that knowledge in order to bring about a better world. And that's the aim of geography, is to create a more sustainable and a better functioning world. So for your task, what you need to do is you need to find 2 cities and you need to compare their water management and sustainability methods with regards to water. From that, you need to formulate a judgment on the effectiveness of each city's water management methods and find out which city is more sustainable. You are required to investigate the following questions, and they are listed here on the screen. What methods are used to manage water in a sustainable manner in both Singapore and another city? What are the similarities and differences between 2 cities' approaches to water sustainability, and how effective have their methods been? Your task is centered around the United Nations Water Sustainability Goals. The United Nations is trying to move to a world in which more people have access to water, and that when people do have access to water, that they use it and manage it sustainably, that they don't waste water, and that we are trying to be water smart and water wise with the way in which we use it, because this is a growing problem across the world. So your first step in your investigation is to begin by researching both cities. You'll need to collect information from a range of sources, and these are some of the sources that you could go to find some information. So you could find data and statistics and graphs. You could look at visual sources, maps, images, and diagrams. You can find some government publications, newspaper articles, and then other websites could be useful in helping with your research. So there's a variety of different things that we need to gather when looking at different sources. So where is the best place to start? Yes, Google. Here is the one source of information where you can find everything that you will need to know. Okay, but there's so much information on Google, okay, and we can get kind of lost in all of the information that is on the internet. So we need to make sure that we make wise decisions regarding what sources that we use. So before searching and just going headlong into Google, what you should think about is defining these keywords first of all. They're management, sustainability, approach, strategy, and methods. These are some of the keywords that are in the questions that we looked at before. You can then, once you've gotten a bit of understanding of these terms, is devise search terms in order to put into Google so that what you are searching for is related directly to your assessment. So you can see some of the search terms that I found in relation to just these terms, but you could think of a variety of different ways in order to pick apart what management, sustainability, and different methods of water that are used, you could use in your research. Remember that you just need to find a minimum of 4 sources, and you will find that there are heaps of sources on the internet. So sometimes we can encounter a variety of different information on the internet that might be inaccurate and that we might not be able to be trusted. Here are some tips for overcoming some of these issues. So Wikipedia is a really good starting point. It is very challenging to read though. It's not designed for Year 7 students. What I recommend that you do is have a scroll down to the bottom and use the reference list down the bottom to help you to look at some good places to get started. Another helpful tip is if a website ends in .org or .edu, it's created by an organization whose purpose is educational. It's designed for students. What you should try to avoid as well is Weebly's or Prezzies, as majority of the time, these are created by students and we don't know how reliable the author is, we don't know how much information they found, we don't know if they did their assignment according to the geographic inquiry process. You should try to look for online encyclopedias, and you should try to question if the information on the website matches what you found in another website. We call this corroboration of sources, where two sources support one another. If it's true in one source and if it's found in another, that helps to add to the reliability of the source. And if the website is referenced correctly and sourced, then we know this is the information that they've found and where they've put all of their places for where they gained that information. So a good starting point for finding information about Singapore is the PUB website. And you can think about, well, does my city have a similar organization? So let's have a look on Google and see what we can find in relation to a few cities that I have started to look at. So here is the Singapore PUB website. You will find a whole vast amount of information regarding the water supply, drainage, used water, how to save water. On everything you need to know about Singapore's water supply will be on this website. But these are some things to be aware of, okay? So this is a Weebly created by Sarah Masingham. I'm not sure who that author is. It looks like she's got some good research here about water supply, about agricultural uses, about municipal uses, but it doesn't seem to be very related to my inquiry question, and she hasn't actually referenced any of the material and where she's got it from. So we're unsure about whether this is a good source to use. She doesn't have a bibliography. It's kind of unclear of what her information is talking about, which city. It's very not really relevant to our study. So this is maybe something to avoid, is these Weebly websites that have been created predominantly by students and maybe shouldn't be trusted. So for my city, I've looked at Baku, which is in Azerbaijan. So if I do a Google search, water management Baku, you can see that these are a couple of things that pop up. Okay, we've got a Wikipedia website, we've got a .org website, we have another .org, we have maybe look at a government website here. Okay, let's have a look at the Wikipedia website first of all. So this might be a good starting place for some of you. So you can see that the information on this website is really detailed. It has lots and lots of information, but Wikipedia can be edited by anyone, so that makes it maybe not as reliable. What is worth looking at though is all of these reference lists. Okay, you can see that this website has been put together through a collation of these sources. So this could be really helpful in giving you suggestions on where to look. As I said, Wikipedia is a really detailed, okay, but very challenging read. So you should try to avoid this and instead maybe use the references or try to find a more reliable online encyclopedia. So if we go to maybe the .org website, what information does this have? Okay, so we have the country profile on Azerbaijan, and from this, okay, it has different information. It's got summary statistics. It's got information about their dams. It has, some good data sets here. So this could be really helpful. And because it's by a government website, it probably means that it's very reliable and that we can trust it. So it's by the United Nations. So we know who they are. Okay, we can trust the information that they have. If we looked at another type of search term, so sustainable water in Baku, let's see what this comes out with. So we've got another worldwatercouncil.org, that could be a valuable website, and the World Bank. We have some other .org websites. We have Google Books here. We've got more Google Books. Okay, if we look at, why don't we see what this source has here, iom.ent. I wonder what this is. Okay, so this is another UN migration site. Okay, it has a whole article on Azerbaijan's sustainable water solution. You can see that has a lot of information, and we have, the references here. Okay, are by particular people, so we can trace them back. And we have an author. Do we have an author? Do we have a date of publication? But it's published by this organization. So we need to look in a bit about that organization. So we can go to the about, and we can find out a little bit more about who this organization is. So The IOM is a leading intergovernmental organization in the field of migration, works closely with government, intergovernment, and non. So this looks like a UN subsidiary. They're part of the UN. So we can probably trust that website to give us some valuable information. Let's look at the World Water Council and see what this website has in terms of information on Baku's water supply. So you can see that it has links to another website here, which was the International Water Day. So maybe this will take us to something that will give us some more information. Okay, we can't find that website. Okay, so sometimes you might get, you might fall short with your research, and you might not be able to find information that really relates to it very much. Let's have a look at just one more website. Let's have a look at this one here by the World Bank. So this is about cleaner lakes in Baku, okay, and what this means for the residents. Okay, so you can see this is an article, okay, that's been written by the World Bank. It's a feature story in their article, so it should be well researched because we know that this is a reputable organization. So you should try to look for government publications or websites that have been published by organizations. So let's do one more search, okay, let's look for water use and reuse in Baku. Instead of writing and, we can just use a plus sign because then it'll look for both of them. Make sure you spell it right. So we've got information from the World Health Organization here. We have more information, looks like a news article here. Let's have a look at that. We've got some other information down here, okay, but some of this looks very challenging, okay, we'll stay away from that. What's worth noting, guys, is that you should look on other pages as well. So don't be afraid to look on page 2, okay, for more information. So Suez, okay, let's have a look at this article is about National Water Company of Azerbaijan, okay, and their cooperation. So maybe some sources could lead us into further information. So maybe we could look into this Suez company and see what role they have in water supply in Baku and Azerbaijan. So hopefully that gives you some tips on where to look for sources. Remember that whenever you look at sources, you should really look into who is providing the information. So look at if they have a who we are or about us section, because this will tell us a little bit about the author, and make sure that we're using really reputable and trustworthy sources. So after you've done your research, the next step in what you need to do is then collate that into a really clear organization. So organizing your research is just as important as finding in the first place. So what you need to do is you need to put in the reference here for the source. This needs to be in Harvard referencing style. Okay? Your teachers will share with you a guide on how to do that. For the research kind of log, you can just put in the title of the work, the URL, okay, that will be plenty. But for your actual submission, you'll need to make sure that you have a Harvard bibliography. For your notes, these should be in your own words, okay? You should use different types of strategies to organize your notes, such as dot points, different colors, subheadings, symbols, and these need to focus on the main point of the source and make sure that you put them into your own words. If you find that information doesn't make sense or you're not clear, you need to find another source, okay? You should make sure that you're finding sources that you understand. The direct quote, data, and example space is a place where you can put in information that is not in your own words. So this could be key statistics, examples, okay, that can be used to support your explanation. Remember that the overall aim of your research is to develop a infographic. So you're going to need data, examples, and quotes in order to be able to support what you are saying. After you've completed your research on both of your cities' water management strategies, you then need to compare and contrast. So compare means to identify the similarities between the two cities, and then contrast means to identify the differences. You could use something like a Venn diagram like the one I have here to kind of organize your ideas in terms of your comparisons and contrasts. What you should identify is a kind of core set of things which are that can be compared. So maybe you can compare their different water usage or the way in which they recycle water, or maybe the different conservation and storage methods. These can be ways in which you can identify a core aspect and see the way in which they're both similar and different for two different places. After you have completed your comparison and contrast, the last step in terms of what you need to do in terms of the development stage is you need to evaluate the effectiveness of both cities' water management methods. So in this part, you don't need to compare which city is more effective or what city is more sustainable than the other. All you need to do is identify is your chosen city effective in managing their water, and is Singapore effective in managing their water? And remember that when we evaluate the effectiveness, we should be relating back to whether their water usage and management strategy is sustainable or is it unsustainable. So you need to make sure that you really determine your criteria by answering the question, what are the effective water management methods? So what kind of water management methods do we see in effective cities that use their water really well, it's really renewable, it has highly sustainable, and that it's going to help in the future as well. So that's the last step in the development stage. Here is a graphic organizer to help you to evaluate the effectiveness of each city. So you might identify the aspects of sustainable water management on the left-hand side. These are your criteria in the first column. And then you have your two cities, so Singapore and your other chosen place. And then you might provide like an overall summary or conclusion on their overall effectiveness in terms of managing their water. The last section is the infographic, and here this is where you need to present all of your research and all of your findings of what you found out about your two cities. So you need to identify the water management methods for both cities, compare and contrast, and then an evaluation of the effectiveness. What you should do is you need to make sure that you adhere to the principles of an infographic. As you can see here, it gives you some information about what an infographic is. Humans are visual creatures, so you need to make sure that it is stimulating for the eye. You need to make sure that it is something that you have only a quick look at. You have key pieces of information because people don't really pay a lot of attention. You need to make sure that you use high quality data and that you're graphing that in particular ways. And you can see that it has minimal writing. There isn't a huge amount of writing. It shouldn't be something that people have to read a lot of information on. And you should try to minimize the amount of writing by using symbols, images, visuals, graphics, okay, and diagrams to display information. It needs to be engaging. It should be interesting. It should be you should use different colors. Okay, it should be very informative and well researched. And you should try to use different subheadings and colors to organize your ideas really clearly. So it could be organized into 3 key elements, and then have a comparison and contrast filtering between the two cities is maybe a suggestion. In your classes, your teachers will also show you some more examples for how you can present your infographic. The last section is your reflection, and you need to write 150 to 200 words reflecting on your learning journey throughout the task and the inquiry process. So if you go back to this inquiry question, have a think about a couple of the key things that you learned along the way. So what did you find interesting? What did you find out that you didn't know before? What did you find challenging, and how did you overcome it? What aspect of the task did you most enjoy? What aspect am I particularly proud of? One that I did really well. And what learning strategy did I utilize in order to develop a really good response? So that's the last section for your assessment task. If you have any questions about what you need to do for your assessment task, your first port of call is the scaffolding document. Then you should reach out to your teacher, and they can give you some more information on how best to complete your task.